In 2012, Tinder was launched officially as the first hookup app, but immediately spawned dozens of other websites and dating apps that were designed to be used by singles looking for a quick hookup or even a serious relationship. But not everyone on these apps is looking for love. In fact, according to Crime Watch, as many as 100 murders, 16,000 abductions, and thousands of assaults happen every year that can be directly linked to dating apps. So today we'll be taking a look at 3 of the most disturbing cases I could find linked to dating apps. Before we start talking about dating apps, maybe we could talk about a better way to spend time on your phone. Maybe like playing one of the fastest growing mobile games in the world. That's right, today's sponsor is
Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is a completely free-to-play hero battle RPG, already played by over 80 million people worldwide. Raid is constantly updated with new champions and content, so much so that they even have Valentine's Day themed champions. So I've constructed a tier list of my top 3 champions for this Valentine's Day season. At number 3 we have Cupidus. I mean, come on, look at him, he's covered in hearts. My number 2 is Zavia. She's a dark elf and, oh my god, she even has wings, and I love the way she's double fisting those blades. And my number 1 is Manaya, because who wouldn't love her? To all new Raid players, Raid's prepared something special for you. It's time to vote on your favorite starter champion. Download Raid Shadow Legends from the links below, copy your in-game player ID, then go to championselect.plarium.com. Simply enter your player ID and then vote for your chosen champion. That's all there is to it. This vote runs from January 16th to February 10th, with all eligible entrants being in with the opportunity to win awesome in-game and real-life prizes, including epic and legendary champions, in-game items, and even Amazon gift cards worth up to $1,000. Only new players from the US can win a prize. Once the vote ends on February 10th, one champion will be crowned the winner, and the prize winners will be selected via a draw. And don't worry if you're an existing Raid player, you can still get involved. Just head to championselect.plarium.com where you can find a special promo code that everyone can use for a small in-game gift. So what are you waiting for? Head to championselect.plarium.com and vote for your favorite champion today. If you've been living under a rock, you may not know that MMA and pro wrestling megastar Ronda Rousey has made an exciting leap into the world of Raid with her very own champion. You can get Ronda by simply opening Raid for 7 days before February 20th. That's all there is to it. Check the available promo codes for new and old players in the description. And if you haven't started playing Raid yet, click my link in the description or scan the QR code here on the screen and you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion, Chanaru, 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 epic skill tome. Raid has a huge index of champions that they are always expanding along with their already deep lore, which is one of the reasons me and so many others love the game. So a massive thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video.
This photo, posted on Snapchat Wednesday, was the last time anyone heard from 24-year-old Sydney Loofe.
She texted me and told me about the date she had went on.
Sydney is a beautiful, young, responsible girl, and she has a lot of family that loves and cares about her, and we just need her home because we miss her.
Sydney Irene Loofe was born in Broken Bow, Nebraska on August 21st, 1993, and was raised in Arcadia, Nebraska by her loving parents Susie and George. When Sydney was 7 years old, her family moved to Neely, Nebraska, and Sydney already had a growing passion and talent for fishing. She had dreams of playing professional sports, and she loved playing basketball and golf while in school. But unfortunately, as Sydney grew into a teenager, she began to develop scoliosis, which kept her from chasing her basketball and golf dreams. After graduating high school in 2011, she began work at a local Menards department store. In early November of 2016, Sydney was still working at Menards and started to open up to her mom Susie about her mental health issues. Sydney wasn't doing too well and had been trying to deal with anxiety and depression as best as she could on her own, but was kind of at a breaking point. So Susie wanted to do whatever she could to help her daughter through this hard time and took Sydney to a doctor's appointment where she was prescribed antidepressants. Unfortunately, this would be the last time any anyone from Sydney's family would see her. Unbeknownst to Sydney's family, Loofe had been talking with a woman named Audrey on Tinder and had agreed to go on a date with her on November 14th. But for some reason, it does seem as though Sydney felt something about Audrey was off, asking her multiple times over the app's messenger if they would be the only two people on the date. But the two met up and hung out in a basement that Audrey had been renting, and as far as we know, the date went well. As the next night, November 15th, Sydney posted this picture saying she was ready for her date. The next day, when Sydney didn't show up for her morning shift at Menards, and no one could get a hold of her to figure out what was going on, her mom Susie quickly reported her missing. And the next day after that, November 17th, the police followed up on the report and did a welfare check at Sydney's house. She wasn't there, but there also was no evidence of any kind of a struggle, although her car, prescription glasses, and purse were all still in the house, and her cat had obviously not been fed for a couple days, which immediately worried Sydney's family. But other than knowing she had gone on a date with somebody named Audrey, the authorities had exactly nothing to go on. But Brooklyn McChrystal, one of Sydney's close friends who she had excitedly told about her new fling with this Audrey girl, was not about to let this go and hoped that the police were going to figure it out, so she took matters into her own hands. Brooklyn swiped left on hundreds of Tinder accounts until finally coming across an Audrey. Brooklyn then messaged Audrey and feigned interest in her, and it worked. Audrey, hoping to set up a date with Brooklyn, sent her phone number over, which of course Brooklyn then quickly provided to the police. Using this phone number, the police were actually able to track Audrey down, and it would turn out that the gut feeling that nagged at Cindy to repeatedly verify that the two would be alone on their date was correct. Because Audrey wasn't Audrey. She was Bailey Boswell, and Bailey had a boyfriend, Aubrey Trail. The two shared a basement apartment that they had been renting for about 6 months. What Sydney never could have known was the level of depravity the people she had unknowingly gotten wrapped up with were capable of. The police were able to track down the last known location ping from Sydney's phone, the Wilbur Apartments where Boswell and Trail had been living. They knocked, but no one answered, so the landlord let them in and also provided them with some very interesting and important details about some recent issues they had been having with the tenants in question. According to the landlord, the owner of the duplex that Boswell and Trail were renting the basement in had been complaining about a strong bleach odor that was emanating from the basement. The smell was so strong that a member of the owner's family was throwing up and breaking out in hives. Not only that, but they were having a hard time keeping their duplex warm because of the frigid air that was also emanating from the basement. The couple had left their AC unit on full blast and weren't answering the door to explain what was going on. So, the police entered the apartment with the landlord and could smell the strong bleach odor. They came back the next day with a warrant, but nothing was out of place or out of the ordinary. When the police were unable to clear Boswell and Trail because they couldn't find them, they officially named them as persons of interest in the disappearance of Sydney Loofe. When they became aware of the accusation on November 28th, the couple responded by making a Facebook live stream defending themselves and maintaining their innocence.
Good morning, Lincoln and Omaha and probably several other places. This is Aubrey Trail and this is Bailey Boswell. I guess y'all also know her as Audrey. But we've spent the last few days watching ourselves being slammed and crucified in the newspapers and news and everything else, so we thought it was time we had our say. We're not trying to defend anything. We're not trying to make you believe anything. We just feel we should get to say our side since everyone else gets to say theirs. Lincoln Police Department apparently wants everyone to believe that we're hiding, that we haven't talked to them, that we're avoiding them. Actually, we've spoken to the Lincoln Police Department a couple of times. We also, I pray for Sydney. I hope she's found soon. I wish the family the best. I'm sorry that she wasn't with you on Thanksgiving.
I went to take her home, and she asked me to drop her off at a friend's house, so I did so. I gave her my number. We were planning to go to the casino that weekend. I haven't heard from her since.
bags. But 2 days later, they were arrested in Branson, Missouri on fraud charges, and the Branson police found sleeping bags, hiking shoes, and maps that all but spelled out the couple's master plan to escape to Mexico. Just a few days later, on December 4th and 5th, search teams led by the FBI began to find several large 30-gallon trash bags stashed along a gravel road approximately 1 hour west of Wilbur. Inside the bags, investigators found body parts, clothing, adult intimacy toys, and other items. Tragically, the remains would be confirmed to belong to Sydney Loofe, and a few months later, the outfit that Sydney was wearing in her last photo was found as well. Now, initially, Bailey Boswell and Aubrey Trail denied having anything to do with this heinous crime, but after seeing videos of themselves purchasing the black 30-gallon bags, saws, and large amounts of bleach caught on CCTV, Aubrey Trail would give multiple contradictory confessions. And based on the story he decided to stick with, here is what apparently happened to Sydney. Trail said that he and Boswell were looking for someone to help them film a homemade adult video featuring a violent fantasy that someone had specifically requested and paid Trail to provide. According to Trail, after a couple successful dates, Boswell convinced Sydney to take part in this video, in which Sydney would be asphyxiated during intercourse. And it was during this act that Trail accidentally killed Sydney. But based on some of the testimony given by people that knew Boswell and Trail, this is a far cry from the disturbing, bizarre manipulation and depravity that Aubrey Trail had been constantly trying to achieve for years. During Aubrey's trial, a 22-year-old female witness testified, but chose to keep her identity hidden from the press, so we're going to call her Jane. According to Jane, she was one of several witches in Aubrey Trail's witch cult. Now, like Sydney, Jane was contacted on Tinder by Bailey Boswell, who quickly introduced her to Aubrey Trail, who then told Jane he could provide her a lifestyle unlike any other, including paying for her car payments, her rent, and putting her through college. He asked if she could have anything, what would it be? She replied she wanted her stepfather dead because he abused her. And as far as Aubrey was concerned, this was totally doable because his 12 witches had powers and he was a vampire. According to Aubrey, Jane could have powers too after she took a soul by killing somebody, and he began searching for the right woman for Jane to kill. According to Jane, she felt as though Aubrey and Bailey had killed multiple people based on comments they made, explaining why Aubrey believed that he could both fly and read minds. Jane also testified that the rest of the witches in this witch cult referred to Bailey Boswell as the Queen Witch, and that during intercourse, Aubrey would often choke her and Boswell. Now, Jane never hurt anyone or fully joined the cult. She had left the group when Aubrey presented her with an opportunity to take a soul or kill somebody after a date. But I think that her testimony, if it is to be taken as fact, puts the accidental kink death claims to rest. During the trial, Aubrey smuggled a razor blade into the courtroom and cried out, "Bailey is innocent, I curse you all," before slashing his own throat. He was rushed to the hospital and received treatment, and for a short period of time, the trial was adjourned. But in June of 2021, the Nebraska Supreme Court upheld Aubrey Trail's death sentence, sealing his fate. Now, Bailey Boswell likely would have received the same sentence, but one out of the 3 judges on her panel didn't believe that her crimes were exceptionally depraved enough to warrant Boswell becoming Nebraska's first ever female to receive the death sentence. The Facebook page that was dedicated to helping authorities find Sydney, called Finding Sydney Loofe, had gained over 30,000 followers, and it's now been changed to a page called Celebrating Sydney Loofe. And the Set Me Free Project, an anti-trafficking nonprofit organization, dedicated a $3,000 scholarship in Loofe's name to be granted to students pursuing careers in criminology, online safety, and social work.
Police near Seattle are holding a man suspected of killing a mother of 3 that he met online. Ingrid Lyne's body was found over the weekend. She was supposed to be with the suspect, John Charlton, on the night she disappeared.
Ingrid Marie Lyne was born on August 2, 1975. She graduated from Canyon del Oro High School in Tucson, Arizona in 1993, and in 1997 she received a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree from the University of Arizona. In 2000, she moved to Washington State and put that degree to work, becoming a nurse. She had 3 daughters with her ex-husband, who she shared custody with, and in 2016 she was working as a nurse at Seattle's Swedish Medical Center and was single and dating. In March of 2016, she met met this man, John Charlton, on a dating site, and the two quickly hit it off. Now, John wasn't perfect. He kinda came off as this down-on-his-luck guy with a heart of gold. At the time that they met, he was homeless and working on and off as a day laborer. And although Ingrid obviously saw some good in him, she still made the decision to keep their relationship private and not introduce him to her daughters just yet. On April 8th, 2016, the couple both had the day off and spent it at T-Mobile Park watching the Seattle Mariners play the Oakland A's. The next day, April 9th, Ingrid's ex-husband showed up at their house as usual to pick up their kids, but there was no answer. So we called Ingrid's mother, who hurried over with a key. The two entered Ingrid's house and quickly made a frightening discovery. Not only were Ingrid's wallet, purse, and cell phone still in the home, but in the bathroom there was blood, human tissue, hair, a pruning saw, and black trash bags. The two quickly contacted the police and reported Lynn missing. And Lynn's mother started texting John trying to figure out when he had last seen Ingrid, but he wasn't responding either. Just a few hours later, about 10 miles from Ingrid's house, police responded to a frantic 911 call from a homeowner who had discovered some strange black trash bags in his recycling bin that he hadn't put there, and they were bleeding. Unfortunately, when police arrived on the scene, they would find Ingrid's partial remains in the bags. 5 days later, a garbage man found the rest of Ingrid's remains in the same black trash bags in a second location. Someone had savagely murdered Ingrid, decapitated her, and dismembered her body, then thrown her remains in the trash. Whoever had done this was truly a monster. Now, obviously John Charlton was the lead suspect, and police quickly learned he wasn't some down-on-his-luck, hard-working man with a heart of gold. He was most likely homeless because he was a career criminal with a history of violent tendencies aimed at the people closest to him. His own parents had filed a restraining order against him. John was found on April 11th and charged with Ingrid Lyne's murder and auto theft, as he had stolen her car after he committed the heinous crime. He had facial injuries and cuts all over his body, likely sustained while Ingrid was fighting for her life. During the interrogation, Charlton claimed he was completely blacked out drunk that night after the baseball game and woke up on the sidewalk the next morning with these injuries and had no idea what happened. Although on October 2nd, 2017, he would plead guilty to all charges. On January 5th, 2018, John Charlton was sentenced to 27 years and 9 months in prison for the murder of Ingrid Lyne. A GoFundMe to support Ingrid Lyne's 3 daughters raised over $270,000.
That young woman graduated from Winchester High School here, then went out to college in the Netherlands. Tonight, her family has flown to the Netherlands as they try to get more answers after her murder.
Mieke Oort graduated from Winchester High School in 2019, and she quickly began her pursuit for a bachelor's degree in leisure and events management, even moving to the Netherlands for school, and was supposed to graduate in 2024. She was dating another American student, Michael Vanderwall, in early 2022 when the two broke up. Mieke tried to move on and met a 27-year-old man who was born in the Netherlands, who has only ever been identified as Thomas R. on Tinder. The two dated briefly, but Mieke had broken the fling off after deciding to try to rekindle her relationship with Michael Vanderwall. But Thomas apparently didn't see this new budding relationship with Mieke as a fling or some kind of rebound. He had quickly become obsessed and was way overly possessive of Mieke and was not about to let her go. So Thomas constantly texted her harassing messages over WhatsApp, followed her around, and even put a GPS tracking device on her bike for when he couldn't be there to physically stalk her. In the early morning hours of March 6th, sometime right before 3:30 a.m., the residents of Mieke's apartment building woke up to a fire alarm blaring. A fire had started in the building somehow, which was pretty quickly put out, but once the flames died down and the smoke cleared, Mieke was unfortunately found dead and her boyfriend Michael was injured. Except it was immediately clear that Mieke's death was not a result of the fire or smoke inhalation. She and Michael had been stabbed. Thomas had seen the now happy couple dancing together at a house party, traveled back to his hometown, and packed a bag with a large kitchen knife and 2 Molotov cocktails. He then traveled back to Mieke's apartment, approached the building, and threw a homemade incendiary bomb at the building, which then triggered the alarm. Using the chaos as a cover, Thomas made his way into the building by climbing a drain pipe to the roof, smashed the patio door, taking the couple completely by surprise, and brutally stabbed Mieke to death. Luckily, Michael survived. Now, the laws and punishments are very different in the Netherlands, with the focus often being more on attempting to rehabilitate violent offenders. So on November 11th, 2022, Thomas R. was sentenced to only 15 15 years in prison, along with additional time undergoing compulsory psychiatric treatment at a medical institution. The brutal attack on Mieke and Michael led to Thomas R. being known in the Netherlands as the Tinder killer. None of the victims in today's video could have ever known the horrific intentions that their romantic interests had in mind. And I'm sure the overwhelming majority of hookups using these apps are totally fine. But maybe by talking about these stories and thinking about what the actual worst case scenario can really look like, it can help us take an extra moment before meeting up with strangers from the internet to vet them and look into them and take a couple extra precautions. I'm Max Powers, this is Parasych TV, thank you so much for watching. Do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss the next video.